Welcome to our channel, where we dissect the truth from the lies. Remember to subscribe for more hard-hitting content. In the world of news, every so often, a story breaks that shakes us to our core. Today, we peel back the layers of a web of deceit spun by none other than Prince Andrew himself. In the spotlight of this sordid saga is his claim of severing ties with the notorious Jeffrey Epstein back in 2010. But as it turns out, the truth might be far from what has been presented to us. Newly surfaced email exchanges have blown the lid off Prince Andrew's assertions. Contrary to his claim of ending contact with Epstein in 2010, evidence suggests that the Duke of York continued corresponding with the disgraced financier until February 2011. That's a full 2 months later than what he claimed in his now infamous Matilis interview on the BBC. It's not just the correspondence that raises eyebrows, but the content of these messages as well. One particular exchange stands out. In it, Prince Andrew reportedly told Epstein, "Keep in close touch, and we'll play some more soon." This casual tone and the use of the word play is unsettling to say the least, considering Epstein's conviction for sexual offences. These messages were exchanged on the same day a photograph of Prince Andrew with 17-year-old Virginia Giuffre and Ghislaine Maxwell was published. Maxwell, as you may know, is currently behind bars for recruiting and trafficking underage girls for Epstein. The timing of this photograph and the emails further deepens the murky waters surrounding Prince Andrew's relationship with Epstein. It paints a picture that's far from the narrative Prince Andrew has tried to sell us. It's a narrative of deceit, of lies, and of a prince who is not ready to let go of his ties with a convicted paedophile. Despite his claims, it seems Prince Andrew was not ready to sever ties with Epstein just yet. As we dive deeper into this story, one thing becomes increasingly clear. The web of deceit is far more tangled than it first appeared. Let's delve deeper into these emails that expose Prince Andrew's false claims. These are not just simple exchanges of pleasantries. They are the smoking gun that reveals a chilling connection between the Duke of York and the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. The content of these emails is quite telling. Despite Prince Andrew's assertions in his Matilis interview on the BBC that he had severed ties with Epstein in December of 2010, these emails paint a very different picture. In one message, the Duke of York seems to be more than just cordial with Epstein. He appears to be eager to maintain their relationship. The Duke writes, "Keep in close touch, and we'll play some more soon." This message was reportedly sent in February of 2011, 2 months after the Duke claimed to have cut all ties with Epstein. These emails contradict Prince Andrew's previous statements in a profound way. Not only do they show that the Duke was still in contact with Epstein, but they also reveal that he was keen on continuing their relationship. This is a far cry from the narrative the prince has been trying to spin, of a man who had realized the error of his ways and chosen to distance himself from a convicted sex offender. The timing of these messages is also noteworthy. They were exchanged on the same day a photograph of Andrew with 17-year-old Virginia Giuffre and Ghislaine Maxwell was published. Maxwell is currently behind bars for recruiting and trafficking underage girls for Epstein. It is impossible to ignore the gravity of these revelations. They expose a man willing to lie to the public, to maintain a relationship with a convicted paedophile, and to disregard the potential harm to his reputation and the people around him. It appears that Prince Andrew was not only still in contact with Epstein, but also keen on continuing their relationship. This is a damning indictment of the Duke's character and raises serious questions about his judgment and moral compass. Now, let's examine the timing of these messages and their correlation with a certain photograph. On the very day that Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein exchanged some of these incriminating emails, a photograph surfaced. A photograph that, in its stark, unflinching reality, paints a disturbing portrait of the Duke of York's associations. This image, now infamous, features Andrew standing alongside Virginia Giuffre, then only 17 years old, and Ghislaine Maxwell. Maxwell, it should be noted, is currently incarcerated, facing serious allegations of trafficking underage girls for Epstein. This photograph is not just a snapshot, it's a timestamp. It's a piece of evidence that aligns disturbingly well with the timeline of the email exchanges. It's a visual representation of the unseemly world that Prince Andrew was choosing to inhabit. The photograph was published the very same day as some of the email exchanges between Andrew and Epstein. This is not a mere coincidence. This is a jarring synchronicity that further undermines the prince's claims of having severed ties with Epstein at the time he stated. And what was Andrew's response to this photograph? Not a refutation, not a denial, but a continuation of his correspondence with Epstein. A correspondence that was, according to the newly surfaced emails, not just cordial, but downright friendly. The emails and the photograph together weave a narrative that is hard to ignore. They tell a story of a man who, despite the mounting evidence of his friend's criminal activities, chose to remain in contact. They tell a story of a man who, despite being caught in a photograph that screams impropriety, chose to ignore the implications. This photograph, coupled with these emails, brings Prince Andrew's credibility into serious question. How can we trust the words of a man whose actions so clearly contradict his assertions? How can we believe in the integrity of a man who is seen standing side by side with a convicted criminal and an alleged trafficker? The photograph does not lie. The emails do not lie. They stand as stark reminders of a truth that Prince Andrew seems determined to deny, a truth that, despite his best efforts, refuses to stay buried, a truth that demands our attention, our scrutiny, and our action. With these revelations, a plethora of unanswered questions emerge. Why did Prince Andrew lie about the duration of his contact with Jeffrey Epstein? Was it a desperate attempt to distance himself, or was there more to it? The new evidence suggests that their relationship extended far beyond what Prince Andrew initially admitted to, casting an ominous shadow on the Duke of York's credibility. This isn't just about a few extra months of contact. It's about the nature of that contact, the casualness of their interactions, and the implications that arise from it. What game was Prince Andrew referring to when he wrote that they would play some more soon? The ambiguity of that phrase, coupled with the timing of their alleged correspondence, raises unsettling questions about the depth and extent of their association. Moreover, these messages were exchanged on the same day a photograph of Andrew with a 17-year-old girl and Ghislaine Maxwell was published. What was the nature of their communication on that particular day? Was it a coincidence or a concerted effort to manage a burgeoning scandal? Prince Andrew's attempt to sever ties with Epstein in the public eye, while maintaining contact privately, paints a picture of deception and manipulation. It also begs the question, what else might he be hiding? If he lied about his contact with Epstein, could there be other undisclosed elements in this twisted narrative? The evidence now points to a more profound and disturbing reality than Prince Andrew's initial confession suggested. The Duke of York's reputation hangs in the balance, his credibility severely damaged by his own words. His attempt to downplay his relationship with Epstein has backfired, leaving him in an increasingly precarious situation. As the world watches on, the pressure mounts for Prince Andrew to come clean, to answer the questions that his own words have raised. The truth, as they say, has a way of surfacing, and it seems that Prince Andrew's truth is only just beginning to unravel. It's clear that Prince Andrew has some explaining to do. In light of these revelations, it's crucial that we demand accountability. The narrative of powerful individuals and institutions should never go unquestioned. The truth can often be obscured by a veil of influence and authority, but it's our responsibility as seekers of truth to pierce through that veil with the sharp blade of scrutiny. Prince Andrew, a figure of significant influence, finds himself embroiled in a web of deceit and controversy. The recently surfaced emails between him and Jeffrey Epstein show a disturbing continuation of contact, long after he claimed to have severed ties. This discrepancy between his words and his actions is not a trivial matter. We must remember that the pursuit of justice is not a passive activity. It's not enough to merely observe these revelations and express shock or dismay. We must take action. We must hold Prince Andrew accountable for his actions, for the inconsistencies in his narrative. Accountability is not a concept reserved for the ordinary citizen. It should be applied with equal, if not greater force to those in positions of power. Prince Andrew's status should not exempt him from scrutiny. On the contrary, it should amplify the call for answers and accountability. We should not accept the narrative presented to us without question. We should challenge it, probe it, dissect it. We should seek out the truth, regardless of how uncomfortable it might be. We owe it to ourselves and we owe it to justice. This is not just about Prince Andrew. This is about the principle of accountability, the principle of truth. It's about refusing to let power and influence distort the narrative. It's about standing up for justice, for truth, and for accountability. Thank you for joining us today. Remember to subscribe, like, and share this video. Let's continue to seek the truth together.